this piece, the tricky part about this piece is that we have a number of times where we're playing B flats. The key of B flat, G minor, but and the relative minor of B flat major. And so when we cadence, when we land and rest on some of these B flats, it's a very fuzzy sounding note. So the very last note of the piece, I tried to play it with the A key here and the third key up from the right, as opposed to the throat B flat. So instead of this one, which by the way, when we play this throat B flat and A, many times we use resonance fingering. So for the regular B flat, I put a third finger on the left, third on the right, and my low C F key. And sometimes my right hand down completely, depending on the tuning and who one might be playing with. But in this case, at the last note of the piece, I'm actually playing with the A here and the third key up here. So that gives us a little bit more clarity of sound. The other general tip for this piece is we're trying to make the notes connect very, very smoothly. And the way we can do that, particularly when we have to go up to the high notes, like there's in bar 3 and in bar 19, we have high Ds. So the high D is 2, 3 on the left hand like this, 1 on the right hand and the pinky like this. But if it's being preceded, in, like it is in these cases, with a B flat, then what I do is instead of going straight to the B flat and lifting this left index finger off directly, I actually slide it down a little bit to get a little bit of an opening, and they call that a half hole. So from the B flat to the D, instead of doing this and just lifting it straight off, I kind of slide it down. That one hesitated a little bit. That's a little better. So the other part of this is getting those smooth connections in the ascending intervals to the high D, is to get adjust your airspeed ever so slightly. So on the high D, just give that, you can't blow the same amount and speed of air because it might just burst out like that. So go ahead and practice doing some of these half holes with the D. So you're practicing starting the note with no tongue at all, just the air, and you have a real good sense of when that sound is actually beginning, the reed is vibrating. When you can do that, then preceding when you add the B flat to that, you'll feel a lot more in control. There are some left-handed, whenever you have an E flat and a C right before it or after it, you're going to need a left-handed C, and so sometimes I find students are not used to using that left-handed C. It's way in the back. It's right below the G sharp, C sharp key right here. So I would use that in a number of instances. In bar 17, like in bar 16, for instance, I mentioned the resonance fingerings before, and so we do those for B flat, for A. When it is possible, I like to get particularly my right hand fingers down early. So if I'm on a note like an A, and I can get my right hand down to get to a C, and if I can get this down on the A, or like in bar 15 into 16, now my B flat actually was fingered with 3, 1, 2, 3 low C key, and of course the regular B flat here. Now when I go to A and C, I have more resonance to the sound. Actually, let me go in and finish that off. So if I have some fingers down for the A, I'm going to have to remember that my C key can't be down for that that particular C in bar 16, because I'm going to have an E flat after it. So what I'm doing, when I mentioned earlier about getting fingers down early, I'm actually planning to get my left hand pinky down early on that C. down early so that when I go to close for the C, it's already there on the left-hand C, and now I go to E flat. And so everything has a better chance of being smoother. Bar 15, 16, 17 all have different rhythms. So if the pulse is like this for the quarter note, then we have to divide rhythms to make sure that we're playing everything in the proper place. So 1, 2, 3 on 15. On 16, you're going to divide each quarter note into 16th notes. Ba, 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 bum. In bar 16, if you get confused about beat 3, where to place that C, then you can actually retongue the E flat, take the tie away. And that can give you a starter to practice that. I like to use the metronome when I'm practicing things like that so I can hear where the pulses actually are. Now when you get into 17, instead of 16th notes, bop, 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 think of the pulse having a down portion and an up portion. One, here's for instance, 8th notes, 1 end, 2 end. Now 16th notes would be 1, 2, 3, 4, bop, 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 bop. But then 32nd notes have to have 4 on the down portion and 4 on the up portion. So bop, 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 bop. So quarters, 8th, 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 bop, 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 16ths, dot, 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 and 30 seconds are dot, 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 dot. How do you do the rhythm in 17 on the upbeat of 2? So first determine where your 8th notes are. And instead of playing 2 16th notes, just dot the low A. On 18, I'm using a left-handed C for those grace notes. I'm trying to get my upbeat on that. So I would suggest take the grace notes away on 18. Let me do it slowly. On bar 20 is a curious passage. So there's a mechanical issue on the clarinet when we put the instrument together with the upper joint and the lower joint, that you want to have this bridge key be properly lined up. Now the problem is that sometimes some clarinets, if they're not really in adjustment very well, they might play fine for the most part, but when you try to play this left-hand index and this right-hand index, so this is called 1 and 1. If we had the register and thumb on, it would be B flat. Sometimes this key right below it does not close, and that has to do with this bridge key. So what I would say is bring your instrument to a service person to get adjusted, because if you don't have on bar 20 the ability to play a B flat, that high B flat with this 1 and 1, it's going to be a lot more difficult in this passage. So all of those are with the 1 and 1. Rhythm-wise on 20, I still think we're in 3/4 meter. So we want to think that the triplet is on the down, triplet, 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 triplet. So if I put my pulse on and I put an 8th note beat on, like that, so the the only one of those on this passage on 20 that I don't use the 1 and 1 B flat is the very first one. So G to B flat is actually a really good fingering to practice playing on. So I would suggest go ahead and try to do that a little bit. Let's see, breathing in this one. I'm catching a lot of breaths wherever it's possible. Let me run down a few. So from the very top, bars 1 and 2, after bar 2, the G, no problem. There's a 16th note rest, great. How about though on bar 4, I might grab a breath after my grace note A, or the low A, or it's a beat, downbeat of B2. So on bar 4, and then I might grab another one after the F sharp. So anytime you're going to grab a breath in here like this, make a nice decrescendo so that it's kind of hidden. Let me jump ahead actually, because I had another thought besides breaths. In bar 17, I'm using this chromatic key for G flat. And when I play my A, when we were talking just before about covered fingerings, I actually kind of play the A with this ready to go. And I have it in the third finger down here. And then, like we said earlier about adjusting your air speed, just make sure your air is not playing the same amount of speed and shape of the low A, the throat A, so that your G flat doesn't pop right out. In bar 20 and 21, you can kind of play around a little bit with the tempo, as long as you don't get too exaggerated. What I tend to do is like maybe put a little tenuto over the beginnings of one of the groups of 6, or maybe multiple groups of 6. So instead of just absolutely strict, I might stretch the first one. And maybe we could slow down the last before we get to the low F and change dynamics slightly. Something like that. So some slight shadings of dynamics. Shadings means you can kind of be a little subtle about the dynamics. They don't have to be a distinct piano or mezzo piano. It can be somewhere in between, so that there's just a little bit of contrast. The other thing I might mention on this particular piece is to have a reed that is a decent reed, which we always should have good reeds that we play on. We shouldn't play on reeds that are kind of getting old. Throw them away and go ahead and bite the bullet and just get new reeds. I always say that because it's just, life is too short to be playing on bad reeds. You'll want to read on this piece that is going to not be too hard, because you can get very tired here, and by the time you get to, say, even into the second line, bars 10 and 11, you might get so tired because you have a reed that is a little bit more resistant and you think it sounds nice and dark and full, but you can't endure to get through the whole piece here through the downbeat of 22. So find a reed that has some level of flexibility. If you're playing on synthetic reeds versus cane reeds, my advice is that whatever you're playing on, just make sure that you're comfortable with that, both in terms of endurance on a piece like this, and then the other faster piece, which is articulated, and that it's doing what you want to do in the different registers. So if the articulation is really clear on one reed, but then it's not letting you have good endurance for, as on that same type of reed, you might consider just exploring your reeds some more. I tend to play, once I get a reed going for the day, unless I'm playing too many hours in the day, I like to play on that same reed much of the day because I really get used to it. And then I rotate reeds. So then the next day I label them 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And I put them in my case. And the next day I'll play on the next one. And then I rotate. When I finish that cycle of reeds, I go back. When I finally gotten, say, 1 through, say, 5 reeds or so, I'll come back to the first one that following day, that when I finished all 5, each of those 5 days. I hope this helps. I guess the other advice I could say to you all is to practice every day, and on this, take it in small pieces. Work through the piece with your metronome a lot, and don't be overwhelmed by all the ornamentation and all the rhythms. Just take each one of them as a little puzzle that you would work on one by one, and work on that one portion for that day, and then the next day work on other portions. Continue to practice your scales. Know what key you're in. This is the key of G minor, so I would say practice your B flat major scale. That's the scale with 2 flats in it, B flat and E flat. And then the relative minor is G minor, which this piece is in. So that'll give you a chance to really get to know your scales. Good luck to you all, and please stay in touch and let me know if you have any questions, okay? Thank you so much.